I'm just so excited to welcome you to my channel.
Thank you. I'm really happy to be here.
It means so much to me. I don't understand how this happened, but thank you for being generous with your time and coming.
This is really exciting for me too.
First of all, we're twinning.
I know! Not planned.
No, this wasn't planned at all. Always channeling Audrey, but now that we have an interview with Audrey's granddaughter, you know I have to wear...
Well, we're in really good contrast with our whole surroundings.
I know. Thank you, Emma, for joining us. I have so many questions. I feel like there's just so many questions going on in my head right now. I wrote them all down, and I'm sure
to ignore them all and ask me whatever you want.
Everyone watching this is so excited to meet you, and I'm so excited to introduce you to the YouTube platform and just find out more about you and all the things you're doing and accomplishing at such a young age.
Okay, my name is Emma Ferrer. I'm 25 years old and I'm an artist. First and foremost, I went to school for painting in Florence, Italy, which is where I lived for half my life. I was born in Switzerland and then I lived in LA and then Florence. And after graduating school, I sort of have just delved into a bunch of different kinds of professional endeavors. I worked at an art gallery for 3 years and now I'm starting to teach art and I'm just always trying to develop my own practice. And you know, I work with UNHCR and UNICEF and
That's amazing.
Thank you.
That's incredible. Tell me what it was like to live in Italy.
It was so amazing. Honestly, moving, you know, I had always spent a lot of time in Europe. My parents are sort of Euro-American, but when I fully made the first, you know, the big move there, I was just over the moon. I felt this huge cultural shift and it felt like it was much more in tune with the person that I felt to be always, and it was just the best. It's so beautiful.
Do you see yourself moving back?
Yeah, for sure, one day. I mean, I live in New York City now and I love that. For what I, you know, all of these things that I'm trying to do, it's really perfect, but yeah. Have you been to Florence?
No, I've never gone to Italy.
Oh my gosh.
I need to go.
My heart stays in Florence. I mean, whenever I go back, I just feel this really deep affinity.
I've gone to Paris and I feel like that's how I feel with Paris.
Really?
Yes, I'm going back in January.
Yeah.
I'm so excited.
That's how my grandmother felt about Paris.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, so my children. It's no secret that you're the granddaughter of the universal icon, humanitarian, and actress Audrey Hepburn. Can you walk us through what it's been like living, knowing that that's who your grandma is?
You know, I have to say that, to be totally honest with you, Gabby, it hasn't always been easy. I mean, when I was young, I guess I'll take you through like a progression of how it felt. When I was super young, I didn't really comprehend either who she was or what that meant for me, and slowly I would see her face on like handbags or just always, you know, be out on the street and like my dad would point her out, and I guess I kind of started to understand, wow, there are a lot of people that really appreciate her. And then as I got older, you know, I would have friends that would like have her picture in their kitchen, or
oh my gosh.
I started, you know, and people started to talk to me about like what she meant for them in their life, and I not only started to understand how famous she really was, but this really huge impact that she had in the lives of so many people. And you know, I did a lot of like compare and despair, and how could I ever live to be such a beautiful and amazing person myself, you know? I mean, like big shoes to fill, you know, you could say that. But in more recent years, it's just been like so much gratitude, you know, not only because of all of the amazing opportunity that's come into my life, but just to be able to carry on, you know, what her legacy means to me. And I feel like I'm at the beginning of a path that is doing, you know, that's going to help me achieve that, and that's really awesome for me.
That's incredible. That I'm just so honored to be sitting here with someone who is following just such a strong path. You're carrying such a big torch, and you're doing it so gracefully, and you're doing it so strongly, and it's very admirable what you're doing. You have so much involvement with UNICEF. Tell us about that.
Yeah, so I mean, I was always sort of lightly involved with UNICEF. My father was the chairman of the Audrey Hepburn Children's Fund, which was very closely linked to UNICEF, and so growing up I had a really amazing chance to be around his efforts and see the kind of really independent creative projects that he was doing to raise money and awareness for UNICEF, and sort of watching, you know, in the background and being able to sort of take part when I could. And then when I moved to New York, I had just had this, you know, this big kind of moment where I started modeling, and I really just felt like I have to have this other thing that's going to accompany it. Otherwise, to me, it's all just going to feel vapid. And so I had a meeting with Carol Stern, who's the CEO of UNICEF USA, and I was like, I want to become involved, tell me how I can become involved. And she was just like, wait, take a moment and think about, you know, what the cause is that truly moves you the most. Like, just take some time, read the news, just expose yourself to what's going on in the world, and just wait. And the words that she said were wait until you find a cause where not becoming involved is no longer even a question, like a possibility for you. And so I approached UNHCR after that, and I started working as an ambassador for them, and really working, you know, for and with refugees, and that was at the time the cause that felt the best to me. And, you know, since then I've become a lot more closely involved with UNICEF, and I've traveled the country speaking at their major events to young to old donors of all ages and all.
That's major.
Yeah, it's been amazing. I've met so many incredible people, and I've gotten to speak about, you know, my grandmother's history. Not a lot of people know that she was a displaced person herself.
Yes. During
During World War II, and, you know, she was on the brink of dying from starvation and eating breads made from tulip and in Holland, you know, and she basically, not to get like too into history, but it was the predecessors of what was later going to become UNICEF. It was a mandated group that was sort of started by, you know, the UN back then, and that's the organization that pulled her out of this incredible starvation and essentially liberated her and her family. And, you know, that later on went on to become UNICEF, and she felt her whole life like she owed her life to UNICEF, and so I can like tell that to people, and it's just really awesome.
She was so brave with all the trips she made, going to the places everyone was always scared to go to just to help the children.
Yeah, and she was really the first person, you know, the first celebrity figure that did anything like that. Like, no one ever did anything like that. She literally went into the field and held the children and, you know, held the mother's hands. And
those are my favorite pictures of
Yeah.
your grandmother, is the later years in her life when she's actually holding
Yeah.
children in faraway countries and giving her all to make sure they were okay.
Yeah, for sure. There's this, my dad just did this amazing exhibition that opened in Brussels, and now it's in Amsterdam if anyone wants to go. But it's like 800 photographs, a lot of them have never been seen, and they were like, it's her wedding dress and the Vespa from her
Oh, I would love to go there.
Oh my god, you have to go. But the last room is dedicated to her work with UNICEF,
Wow.
and it's so powerful. Every time I go into that room in the exhibition, I mean, I've seen the exhibition travel now, and it's just so cool. It's like, it helps me feel connected to something bigger than myself, you know what I mean? Which isn't, not everything does that, and that's just a cool thing for me to feel that connection.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
You feel connected to her?
Through this work, yeah, more than ever. Like, I always sort of, I think I kind of like prevented this sense of connection with her just because I was really intimidated by who she was, and I didn't feel like I was, you know, like pretty enough or any of these things.
You're stunning, first
Oh
of
my
all.
god, thank you. But, you know how it is.
And
like-
second of all, after everything I have read online, you are doing a great job at being Emma.
Thank you. That's definitely what I'm trying
You're
to do.
brilliant, and you're doing so much. Let's talk about your modeling.
Okay.
I adored your Harper's Bazaar cover,
Thank you.
and I saw some iconic poses and pieces. What was it like to emulate someone that you've never met, but is your grandmother.
You know, I mean, more than I kind of didn't even realize that we were emulating all of these iconic, you know, photos.
Yeah.
I really detached from all of these kind of, you know, iconic moments in her fashion career that we were essentially recreating. But it was more this really cool connection with Michael Avedon, who's, you know, the grandson of Richard Avedon, and, you know, today Michael and I are like really, really close friends because of that whole experience.
That's awesome.
And that was a really cool thing, you know, because he in his own right is like really up and coming to be a pretty genius photographer. And just, you know, to be able to kind of have this, like that part carried on, that felt really cool.
I could only imagine being on the cover of Harper's Bazaar. That is huge.
I mean, to me, it really didn't even register, I think, until now, because okay, so what happened was Glenda Bailey, who's the editor-in-chief of Harper's Bazaar, was doing this spread on icons that they do, I guess, every year. And she was like, oh, I wonder if Audrey Hepburn has any living heirs, or, you know, whatever you want to call them. And so she found like one picture of me online that was a picture of me and my dad at this event, and she was like, oh my gosh, I have to contact her. So she reached out to my dad, and my dad, you know, she explained that she wanted to do a photo shoot with Michael, and my dad was like, you have to do this, and I was like, I'm not doing that. You know, because I was just this art student trying to, you know, just get an education and like lead a really simple life, and essentially trying to escape all of that my whole life. And he was like, you're doing it. And so he kind of bullied me into doing it, and I'm really, really grateful that he did. But it wasn't ever a plan for it to be on the cover, and they liked the pictures, and so they did that. And it never really sunk in, like, how big of a deal that is, and like how many girls would kill to have that opportunity. And it was just sort of like handed to me on a silver platter.
That's insane.
Yeah, it is insane.
And was this your door to modeling?
Yeah, 100%.
And you fell in love with it?
Yeah, in ways. I mean, you know, I kind of started to hate myself, like, more and more, just because I would go to these events and there would be, like, really famous people and, like, really beautiful.
Oh, I know exactly what you mean.
And I would just feel like I wanted to crawl out of my skin. And I would just be like, I want to be back home, like, with my paintbrushes and with my dog.
It sounds a lot better.
Yeah. I don't know if anyone can really understand the feeling, you know, and I'm sure that you can.
Oh, my goodness. Half the reason I don't go to events like I should is because of that feeling.
Exactly. And so I really started to hate myself, and that was kind of like, okay, I need to figure out, you know, either I'm going to take a big step away from this, which is kind of what I eventually ended up doing, or I'm going to find a way to do it in my own way, which is kind of what I want to do now.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, now you're tackling bigger and better things. You're making a huge difference in the world.
I don't know about that just yet, but that's the plan.
So you were in a movie last year?
I think it was like 2 years ago. 2
years ago.
Actually, but it still hasn't been released. It's like still in just very, very long post-production stages.
Are you gonna try to do more with acting, or you're just
I'm super open to it. You know, I after that, I was like, wow, I really loved the experience. You know, the director sort of became a friend, and it was this really awesome, just a really, really good feeling of so many people involved in this creative thing. And like, you know, create for the first time having this character that you could impregnate with your own like life and meaning. It felt so good.
Yeah.
It really felt really fun and really like something that I would want to do more. And so I was going on a bunch of auditions after that, and then I realized that that kind of grind is like just not for me right now.
Yeah.
So
it's a grind.
It's totally a grind, yeah. And I just, you know, I just wasn't doing all the other things that I want to do. So totally open and wanting to do more in the future, but hoping that it happens kind of in an organic way.
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm sure it will happen again and present itself. I'm so excited to see your film.
Thank you. It's a super indie art house film.
Gonna be the first one to watch it.
You'll come to the premiere when you have it in New York.
You received a modeling award from In Touch, and you signed with store management with modeling. What did it feel like to win an award in something that you never saw yourself doing?
I mean, surreal, but again, as I said before, I really didn't understand what was happening at all. You know, I really didn't it just all kind of, it's such a strange feeling. I don't know if I would be able to explain it the right way, but it's really just, it's all happening and you're almost watching it from the outside as a spectator. There was kind of like a disassociation a little bit, which I think is different now. You know, I look back on it now and I'm like, wow, those are big things. You know, that's really amazing. And, you know, I think that whatever happens now, I have a lot more perspective and just a lot more gratitude, you know, for all of that.
For sure. That's all just so crazy. We hear so much about your father's side. We would love to hear about your mom's side.
I'm really actually happy that you asked that, because recently in an interview, actually, I mentioned my mother's side, and it was nice, you know, to think that whatever qualities I try to embody come from sort of both of those parts of my family. And so my mother's side of the family, my mother was English. She was born in Ireland and raised in England.
Wow.
And her father was a nuclear physicist, a nuclear engineer, and her mother was a nurse. And they met actually in British colonial India.
Wow.
Where my grandmother was working as a nurse, and they were both really brilliant people. And you know, yeah, I mean, I look at my grandmother in particular, who was working in a foreign country, you know, as a service worker essentially, and having, you know, there was a lot of political turmoil at the time, and social turmoil, and having to cast that all aside and sort of just focus on the life of a human. And I think that from both paternal and maternal grandmothers, I feel a sense of, you know, like deep commitment to service, which is something that all these articles are circulating now about, these Harvard studies that have come out about, you know, dedicating your life to your passion versus your purpose. I don't know if you've read about any of this.
I haven't, but...
Well, they're saying that you're supposed, if you really want to be successful, that the, you know, the recipe for success is to follow your purpose rather than your passion. Which I think is something that speaks to me, because, you know, I feel there are things that I'm passionate about, but I do also feel a deep sense of purpose. And I think that now I'm focusing on that for the first time, and it feels kind of right, you know what I mean?
Yes.
Yeah.
That, I love that quote. I've never heard anything like it, but I'm gonna write it down.
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah.
So, after everything I've heard, I would just love to tell you that you are just an incredible person, and it's just been so exciting to hear about you as Emma, about you as Audrey's granddaughter, but also you as a humanitarian. And my team has donated to the Audrey Hepburn Foundation in honor of this interview for the holidays.
Thank you
so
much.
Yeah, we made a big donation for you, and
oh my God, that's amazing.
we're just so thankful that you could just come and be here and be present and give insight on who you are as an individual to a huge platform.
Oh my gosh.
And use your voice and your purpose.
So much. That's really huge. Wow, thank you.
Yes.
Thank you so much for that.
Well, thank you so much for coming and just
Thank you.
being on a fancy blog.
Honestly, you're a really beautiful person, and I'm very, very impressed by meeting you in person. It's been really special. Yeah, you have a really amazing light.
Thank you so much.
Of
Stop.
course.
You're making me like, oh.
No, for real. Really, really. I mean it 100%. I do.
Thank you so much.
Of course.
I'll give you a hug.
Okay.